That is what, Paul? That is what?
So go on. Mario starts doing a wild thing. Is that right? Not
Yes.
wild. Is that what it's actually called?
It's by Tone Loc. It's Wild Thing by Tone
There we
Loc.
go.
Yes.
Yeah. There we go. And I respond with, that's not necessary, only to look up and realize that we're in the pre-show countdown and you can't hear me. So, thanks a lot, bud. Thanks a lot.
What up, Donnie, Shiva? What is up, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen of Hashtag Nation and Bills Mafia, welcome to the Hashtag Sports presentation of the Buffalo Bills versus the Indianapolis Colts, where the Buffalo Bills win 30-20, thus going to 6-2 in the conference and 8-2 overall, beating the timeless one, Joe Flacco, the elite Joe Flacco, which we said last week, this game wasn't going to be a walkthrough. But it seemed at times it could have been. It could have been a runaway. Yeah. It really could have been a runaway. Just really quick before we get into any other particulars. Tonight's show is sponsored by Mr. Rogers Homes. You can see his brochure in the description of the video, and all of our shows go to go to iTunes and Spotify upon completion. You can find all of our socials: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook in our link tree. Paul, I have. Yeah, talking about the game, but prior to the game as well, I have a banger of a hype video for the Chiefs coming on Tuesday morning. So those of you that are listening to this Tuesday morning, be on the lookout for Hashtag Sports video, hyping the Chiefs game up like we need to. Like we freaking need to hype that game up. But it's going to be great to be talking to you tonight, Shane, because I can get your idea about how your Colts performed.
I don't know why I get called Shane Steichen. I showed a picture to my wife, and she's like, I don't see it. Well, I showed her a picture with Steichen without a hat on, and she's like, oh yeah, no, like I don't know.
Are you kidding me, Paul? So. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, I don't see it, man. I don't see it. This was the game. Mar was when I was on with Joe. At the time, it was a little frustrating, right? Because while the Bills had scored on like all but 2 drives, right? It was another game where I was like, you kind of let them hang around a little bit. And the Colts, they did a fine job of keeping up. But after the first half, it kind of felt like you took the best that they had, right? Like that first half was the best football they were going to play against you. And it was an okay game,
Yeah.
No Keon, no Cooper. You're kind of back to week 4 Buffalo Bills. It was fine.
I mean,
fine.
I mean, it was fine.
Oh, come on, really? This guy over here.
Paul, this is phenomenal. He's I mean, the Buffalo Bills, obviously going into the halftime, it was 17-10, 17-13, something like that.
At halftime, going into half, yeah.
I'll check it real quick.
Sheet.
No, it's 20-13. I'm sorry, it's 20-13. But it wasn't they scored 20 points in the first half. They got off to a strong start. They were, dominant. They were doing this, that, and the third. You had 20 points, but you had 3 turnovers at that point. Mm-hmm. And it was like, what are you guys going to start doing? You got to start turning these turnovers into points. And, the really good teams, they're going to make you pay for not getting points or just getting 3 points. But it seems like the Buffalo Bills in the second half are almost hypnotists with some of these games, because you start to look at how these teams play other teams in the second half, how they come out strong, how they're able to, make a comeback or have close games. Mm-hmm. This was the first game that wasn't a 1-score game for the Indianapolis Colts all year. So, like, all that being considered, you look at it, you say, okay, these teams just seem to conform to what the Bills want them to do in the second half of these games, especially defensively. So, and I know they made a concerted effort. Like, listen, 28 isn't going to beat us. Mm-hmm. Anything else can happen in this game. We don't care. You want to throw 5-yard dig, you want to hit Downs, you want to hit Pierce, you want to hit all these other guys, fine.
Mhm.
Not going to have Jonathan Taylor beat us in the second half. And then that concerted effort translated into we put more pressure on Joe Flacco because of that, because they went into longer second and third down situations. And inevitably the Buffalo Bills defense, that's where they live. That's where they love playing. That's where they're very successful at playing. So
well, and I think you were able to drag the Colts into deep water. You know, like you get the nothing touchdown at the end. So obviously, owners of the Bills defense and fantasy are pissed that you let up a late touchdown. But you know, again, I think you had taken everything that you could from the Colts. That was their best shot. And you know, Jonathan Taylor walks in with 100 rushing yards going into halftime, and you know, I think the Colts are just saying, listen, if we could keep it a 1-score game, then we don't take Jonathan Taylor out of the game. Jonathan Taylor, I think, had 107 yards going into halftime. He finishes with 114.
That's crazy.
So that's what happened. You know, like the Bills were able to take Taylor out. And again, Joe Flacco is not going to do much against you, right? He's going to keep your team afloat. You know, it really makes you wonder what the Colts record would be had they just started Flacco from the jump. But I don't blame them for trying to make it work with Anthony Richardson. You know, you've got a lot invested in him. You're not planning to give the reins over to Joe Flacco. You don't gain anything there besides, you know, you're going to have a pretty good season. And, you know, next year, what are you going to do with Richardson, right? Is it worse to start him than sit him? I mean, I'm not sure. The Colts were okay today. I mean, you could see that offense really struggles without Pittman, right? Just like this offense really struggles without Cooper and Keon. I think Davis said it in the chat. What would the score have been if you had Keon and Amari? Again, you got a healthy dose of Curtis Samuel. He had 6 targets in the first half. Yikes.
He had 8 for the game. That's crazy.
I know.
Only catching 4, obviously. But, you know, it's already been documented very well that the Buffalo Bills receivers outside of Amari Cooper don't get separation. And if you don't get separation, you have to scheme separation open, you know, for the receivers. And, you know, a lot of times unfortunately, Paul, I saw shades of 2019, man. I saw 2 receivers in one spot. And I'm like, what is going on? Why are there 2 guys right in the same spot where Josh is throwing the ball? And it was kind of scary. You know, doubling back on the Anthony Richardson thing. I mean, they mentioned it during the broadcast. You didn't make any huge splashes in free agency this offseason. You didn't do anything at the trade deadline. You're effectively saying that this is a rebuild year. You know, why don't they play Anthony Richardson? Well, my answer to that is he has to learn to be a pro first before you decide to have him lead your franchise. And I think that's what the biggest thing is. He'd be starting right now if he didn't tap himself out of the game against Houston.
Probably.
I guarantee he would, because you have to show that you're for your teammates, and that's not showing for your teammates. And I know Joe Flacco, we can make jokes all the time. The guy's a Super Bowl winning champ. The guy has played in the league until he's 40 years old. That's to be commended. He could teach you how to be a professional without even teaching you anything. You just got to watch and see how he operates on a day-to-day basis. And that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, and they had a good game plan against Buffalo. You know, like you certainly can't fault the game plan. Again, I just don't think they have the horses to carry it. You know,
you saying it because they're the Colts?
No. Whoops. Accidental dad joke. Sorry about that, guys. My apologies. I really was a little worried when Kincaid went down with the knee. I know he got some snaps afterwards, but Buffalo kind of kept him out afterwards. After half, played a little bit, right? Didn't play much. Quentin Morris almost had a Quentin Morris touchdown. Dawson Knox came into relevance today. Tough times.
The island of relevancy. Tough times.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
like a solar eclipse.
Yeah, you're losing all those guys. And obviously, if you're Indianapolis, who are you going to try to focus on? And I guess the next biggest dangerous target that you have once Kincaid was out is Shakir. I mean, he showed you today that dude does not go down at all. And when they flashed the stat that he has the most yak yards in the NFL, I was actually surprised at that.
That was going into today. Jamar Chase certainly pushed himself far past Khalil Shakir.
You think he did?
Well,
in Yak.
yeah, he went for 263 yards or
Yeah, but a
something
lot
like
of
that on
the
Thursday.
70-yarder he caught like 40 yards downfield or 50 yards
Uh,
downfield already.
I'm just saying he's got a pretty good head start on Shakir.
He
Right.
does.
He's
He
got a pretty good head
does.
start on
He was
Shakir
he
right
was on
now.
that list too going in there. Like he was like a yard
A
behind him or
second.
something.
Yeah, it was like
Yeah.
only a yard behind him. That's what I mean. Like, yeah, I think Jamar Chase pulled away a little bit there. He pulled
Oh
away a
man.
little bit. But I really thought like James Cook, there were times where Cook looked great and times where, again, he just looks like he just doesn't see it all that well. Ray Davis, only 3 carries for 6 yards today with a long of 4.
Yeah,
It makes you curious where they started to coast against, because you obviously have KC, coming into town next week. So it does make you wonder where in the game plan they coast a little bit. And if Keon and Cooper were held out because like, you got to have those guys. Yeah, you got to have them. You got to.
I mean, the Buffalo Bills. There's no easy wins in the NFL the way that it
of course not.
out. I mean, it's any given Sunday. It's this, that, and the third. This is a team that played this Indianapolis Colts team that, like we said, played 1-score games the entire year, and that schedule included the Texans, the Packers, the Steelers. I'm sorry, Texans twice, the Vikings. You know what I mean? You're talking about those are some teams that are going to be in the playoffs, and they play them really tough 1-score games. And you had to ask yourself, listen, if we don't have Keon and we don't have Amari, can we still beat them? Can we produce enough offensively to do that? And it's a big risk when you know that you don't really perform that well against the run or haven't this year yet. And you got Jonathan Taylor coming in, who's an animal. Like, guy at 107
inside the tackles
yards.
where you're weak. Yeah, where you're weak.
Yeah. But I mean, speaking of inside the tackles, Quentin Jefferson showing up big.
Yeah. Good for him, right? Good for him. It's this Bills defense gave you plenty of opportunities. 4 forced turnovers today, and the downside was that the Bills couldn't score on drives that weren't generated by a turnover. It felt right, so like that's how the game started, right? Yeah. Like you got an interception for a touchdown, awesome. You got an interception on the following drive. You got a field goal off of that. Colts come down, kick a field goal. You out on downs. You then give up an interception. You score a touchdown finally, before halftime. Like there were with as many turnovers as they generated. And again, I know the scores, 20-30. It wasn't really that close. But it felt like the Bills had the chance to score 50 if they wanted to. And these are games that are fine, right? You had the game in hand. You kept them around for a while, but the Colts never really were in the game. And this is a game you didn't need to press, right? Why put stuff on film? You don't have to. You got Kansas City coming up. Let's get through this game healthy. I'm sure at some point it was like, hey, let's get through this game healthy. Plus, when Joe Flacco threw that touchdown pass to end the game, it was against Codrington with Joe Andreessen, dropping back in coverage. Like they had pulled the starters at that point. So, again, I'm not concerned about anything, but it doesn't really make you wonder what they were pulling back because Kansas City's next week.
I think
Kansas City barely escaped because they had to block a kick to beat the Broncos.
Oh God. And the Mahomes running and sprinting on the field like they just won the Super Bowl was absolutely ridiculous. I mean,
right.
You're going to hear a lot of stuff, guys, this week. It's Chiefs week. And, unfortunately for Bills fans, they earned it. You literally earned it. You have 3 Super Bowl titles. You've been to 4. You've eliminated the Buffalo Bills 3 times in the playoffs. You've earned the right to say that to the Buffalo Bills. That's why in a regular season game, Paul, I'm not stressing out about this game coming up with the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's the regular season. The Bills have shown that they could beat the Chiefs in the regular season. Mm-hmm. It's can you do it when it matters the most in the postseason? And that's one of those things that with the undefeated team coming in, you got 8-2 and 9-0. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting to see where the Kansas City Chiefs today looking over Denver, peering over and saying, hey, we both have essentially opponents that aren't going to make the playoffs this year.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, Denver
Yeah.
could, Indianapolis could if they go on a run, but realistically, these are teams that are in rebuilds with
Likely
new
not.
quarterbacks and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
okay. Were they both peering over the mountain at each other saying, I know we got Indy, I know we got Denver, but we, November 17th is the day that we both circled on the calendar when it came out.
Yeah, sure. It does make you wonder how much the Bills are going to glean from Sean Payton, right? Because the Broncos absolutely outplayed the Chiefs today. So it does make you wonder what they're going to, glean from Sean Payton, right? Like, what did he know to keep that game so close? And like, don't get me wrong, right? Like the Chiefs are not in great shape as it is. And I'm sure they want the number 1 seed. You want the number 1 seed. It probably helps to put down the team that's on your tail, right? If you got a shot at them during the regular season, like of course you want to win this game. Everybody wants to win. The Chiefs want to go undefeated. That's their intent. Win every single game. But again, you can't help but feel like there's a little bit more here, right? Because the Chiefs had trouble with Buffalo during the regular season.
Yeah, they have. And, for all intents and purposes, we talk about this being a game of inches. Mm-hmm. Realistically, it should be a 5-4 Kansas City team coming into Buffalo.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier today, Mar, and I guess that's like one of the things about Andy Reid that makes him such like a generational coach is, they've only beat, a couple teams by double-digit points, right? But they still win, right? Like, they're
I'm never going to take anything away from Reid.
Yeah,
Reid is phenomenal in what he does and what he's been able to do in his time in the NFL, learning from the Bill Walsh tree, and then learning from who was that coach? Who was the coach in Green Bay forever? I can't remember. I'm blanking on his name right now. Learn from him. He was like he was one of the offensive guys under his staff. Mike Holmgren. That's what it was. So, and then you think about that, and then, okay, you go down the Chiefs, like, they only beat one team by more than one score. Were you literally looking this up the whole time?
Yeah.
Oh.
Dr. Ocken from Independence Day.
Dude, Independence Day is a goated movie. That's all I'm
It's a great movie. You're welcome.
He will forever be Data on Star Trek The Next Generation, though.
I get it, but when you wear glasses, this is kind of where we are. Like, you don't die a terrible death to an alien, at the 37 mark of the movie, but, you kind of got this vibe going.
The fact that okay, fine, I got you for the rest of the stream. I got you. Here we go. I'll do this.
Oh, see, there we go. Yeah, yep. There it is.
It's been really fascinating, Paul. Really fascinating. But like you look at the Chiefs' schedule. I mean, they beat the Ravens by 7 on a toe. Mm-hmm. I mean, at best that goes to overtime, and you try to see, or who knows, Baltimore might go for it. You get a pass interference call on the Bengals, you beat them by a point. You definitely got pass interference on Kyle Pitts in the end zone against the Falcons. You win by 5, and you telling me that Bijan Robinson isn't running that in the next play? Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, you're right.
Chargers took a 10-0 lead, lost 17-10. Like, it took a 10-0 lead in the first quarter and didn't do anything else the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. You knocked Derek Carr out of the game. Brock Purdy throws 3 picks. You almost lose to the Raiders on a holding call at the end. Mm-hmm. Dude, Baker Mayfield's reaction to when they lost the coin toss against Kansas City will forever live in infamy.
I don't know that. So no, I didn't.
They do the obviously I'm talking about they lost to the Bucks 30 to or Kansas City beat the Bucks 30-24. It's 24-24 going into overtime. They flip the coin. Kansas City wins it. Baker just goes like this. Oh man.
Hold on. Like TikTok's going to help me out here.
He literally just rolled his head back and he's like, this sucks. This is awful. Like he just knew. He just knew.
Okay, let me share this real quick because we could play this. Sorry, we're not going to get taken down for a minute. Yeah, we could play this. Hold on one second.
They don't let us out much. Garn, you're 100% right. They don't.
Let's
the last few days have been really exciting.
Yeah, we're not going to get this. Okay, it is heads.
Baker Mayfield.
Baker, who I think called tails, but it was heads, was frustrated that he pulled the wrong straw. He called the wrong side of the coin.
Yeah, that checks out.
100%. That is, because you already
that
know.
checks out. Yeah.
And then they get a blocked chip shot 35 yarder. I mean, they literally could be easily 4 and 5. Like you don't,
right.
But they're not.
Right.
And that just as to echo what Paul said, the genius of Andy Reid and the ability to adjust like Steve Spagnuolo. I think that is why I think it worries a lot of Bills fans. If you come out of the gate slow against Kansas City, now you got guys on the other sideline that can adjust too, just as well, even better than you can. So what's going to happen in that?
Right.
So that's the thing that scares me a little bit.
Well, and I'm glad that like today, Matt Milano was on the sideline, right? So we're getting closer and closer to a Matt Milano arrival. It's not going to happen next week, right? But we're getting closer and closer to a Matt Milano arrival because he could be activated off IR at any time at this point.
He's a candy.
Yeah, and that's exciting, right? Because Dorian Williams has done the best he can, right? Like that's what it is. He's had to play an awful lot, and it has helped his development. Like we're not talking about Dorian Williams nearly as much as we were just the first 3 weeks. Like the first 3 weeks, it was tough sledding for him. But we're not really talking about him as much as we have in the past, and that's probably a good thing. But I think this defense is significantly different with Matt Milano. Like you're kind of a ghost against the run because you're not really stout there at the linebacker position. As much as I like Terrell Bernard's great, but Matt Milano's a bit more of a force there, right? And just kind of commands the middle a little bit better. So I'm excited for Milano to come back, but we're not going to get him for this game against the Chiefs. Now, can and will the Chiefs expose you? The Chiefs do a great job of exposing the perimeter. I don't know this year how they've done taking care of things inside the tackles, right? So I know because every Andy Reid coach team always exposes the perimeter on every team. Always.
Yes.
But
I think
what do you do with Kelsey, right? Because now Kelsey's back on the horse. God, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it.
Never mind.
Didn't mean it.
Never mind. That is not a Taylor Swift song. I'm just going to say.
Didn't mean it.
Anyway, but no, dude, you do bring up some great points. Andy Reid has always been one of those perimeter guys because he's always had speed. You look back through his days in Philly, he had Deshaun Jackson, he had Jeremy Maclin, all those guys. And then you came here, he had Tyreek Hill, and he had all these Mecole Hardman. He always had all these guys that were just burners. And I think the Chiefs have gone away from the interior, even though they got a familiar name in Kareem Hunt back. I don't think it's not Isaiah Pacheco. Now he is that hammer inside that will be able to establish dominance inside the tackles for you, and they just haven't had that. And he's nearing his return as well. So that's one of those things. But I just don't want to bring up your point. It was good to see Matt Milano on the sidelines today, but it's one of those things where we tend to, in Buffalo, deify a lot of players after they're gone or when they're injured.
Yeah.
We have to remember that Matt Milano wasn't the best guy against the run in the first place.
No.
If you tried to run to the sideline, yes, he was. Right. But if you're running at him and you have a guard coming in and you're trying to do this and that, he's not shedding that guard and making the tackle like Levon Kirkland. Okay, it's not happening.
He's very passionate about this.
No, he's a great coverage linebacker. And in McDermott's defense, he works phenomenally in that. But do not tell him to shoot a gap. When was the last time Milano ever blitzed?
Yeah.
He's not that guy.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to counter there. Let's not forget that they had Tremaine, and Tremaine was the guy that when they were going to do a linebacker blitz, it was going to be Tremaine.
It was always Tremaine. Yeah.
I don't think that's fair to say because really Milano hasn't played without Tremaine the last 2 seasons. Like it's felt that way, right? Like it's kind of felt that way. But yeah, I get what you're saying, right? I get what you're saying. I'm not really worried about the Chiefs inside the tackles right now. I'm just not. I really think the Chiefs are going to look at it and say, we have to limit Buffalo's offensive opportunities. We have to drag this out, and we just have to bleed them to death, right? Like we just have to score on 75% of our possessions and stop them on 3. And if we could score on 75% of our possessions and stop them on 3, we'll probably win.
Paul, I know this is turning into like a Chiefs break, like preview.
Well, I mean, there's not much to talk about with the Colts game.
No,
like,
I know.
There's not much to talk about there, Mar.
Here's the thing: in the games that the Chiefs have played, and the offensive firepower that they've played against, do you think that Spagnuolo and Reed kind of dipped their toes in the water first instead of trying to play keep away? Like you can have keep away in the safe if you need it, and try to drag out 10-play, 7-minute drives, and that's great. You could try to do that, and you can do that. But do you think that they dipped their toes in the water and say, hey, listen, these receivers don't get separation. Why don't we just try to run this one up? Why don't we see if we can, if it turns into if they end up scoring on 7 plays in 3 minutes, okay. Yeah, let's in case of emergency break vault. But I just, do you see Spagnuolo or Reed doing that? Or do you see them just coming in and saying, listen, we got to keep the ball out of 17's hands at all costs and shorten this game up? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I look at Kansas City receivers, right? You look at the depth in the room, and then you look at the Bills corner situation. And the Bills, Benford is fine, right? As far he's healthy. Rasul Douglas has been healthy all season. You can attack the safeties, but you got to get past the corners first, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, Damar Hamlin was holding Jonathan Taylor's handbag on his way to the airport today. Like, how many times was I going to see Damar laying on the ground as Jonathan Taylor ran by him? Like, that was frustrating. But
he had horrible angles today. Horrible.
Yeah. Today. Yeah. But again, it's you're not asking Damar to be a run stopper, right? Like that's not his role. So if you got a running back 25 yards downfield, I mean, that's a different problem, right? But the fact of the matter is, I don't think Kansas City is going to get there on you. So that's what I mean. I think it's sort of a paper tiger. And, of course, I don't want Kansas City to go out there and beat the Bills 54-13, after calling them a paper tiger. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at, how they've played, what they've played, who they've played, they haven't dominated, right? I think they've been in the driver's seat for a lot of games because people are afraid of them. And if you were just to look at this year in a time capsule, I don't think there's much to be afraid of. Are they undefeated? No. Yeah, absolutely. They deserve the respect of an undefeated team. But again, I think you have to look at how they got there. And of course, every team needs a little bit of luck. Of course, Buffalo's gotten a little bit of luck. Of course they have. But I think Buffalo can score on them at will if you have Keon and Cooper. Like, I just don't see that defense being able to stop them.
I don't. When the Bills are on, I don't think there's 2 other teams better than them in the league.
Right.
I really don't.
Yeah.
But when they sputter or they're false start penalties, they seem disinterested. They're not, they're dropping passes and stuff like that. They're very easily beatable. And I want to remind you, Paul, of the previous paper tiger that existed. And it wasn't too long ago. It's still in the island of relevancy because it wasn't more than 20 years ago. It was actually in 2020, the 2020 Pittsburgh Steelers, who started off 11-0.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was an insane.
That was crazy.
They ended up 12-4 and lost in the first round of the playoffs to the Cleveland Browns.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yep.
Was that Duck Hodges season? Was that Duck Hodges year?
Oh, 2020? The
was
COVID
2020
year?
Duck Hodges? Yeah.
No, Duck Hodges had to be before that.
You think it was before that?
I think Duck Hodges was before that.
Let me look at the box score. If I see Duck Hodges in the box score. Oh no, it's Ben. It's Big Ben. Yeah, Ben was there in 2020.
Okay.
But that was the previous paper tiger if we were talking about it, if we're mentioning anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That I know,
obviously
We hit the Steelers after their Broncos game. They were 11-1 when we played them that year. Oh yeah, that's crazy. Didn't Milano tear a muscle again? In what now? Duck season was 2019. Yes, you're right, Hoffins. My bad.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a fun year too. Good old Duck Hodges was the Renegade song game with Matt Barkley swinging the coat.
That's right.
The poncho.
Yeah. We've come a long way, haven't we?
We have.
When with Barkley as our spirit animal on the sidelines, like we've come an awful long way as an organization, haven't we?
Barkley and spirit animal was not on my bingo card for tonight.
They had T-shirts, dude. He had his own T-shirt. Like, give it up to 26 shirts, right? Like, they don't miss a beat. You know, give it up to Dell and the guys with 26 shirts because, as I said, they don't miss a beat. But, like, that was a really popular shirt for them, if I'm remembering correctly.
Mario thinking Terry Bradshaw was playing in 2020. You mean the third best quarterback in NFL history, according to many pundits? What are you looking at me for, Paul? They're always talking about rings. Rings matter, right? He's 4-0. Why isn't he third behind Montana and Brady?
Speaking of Duck Dynasty,
I posed a very interesting question to my friend the other day.
Yeah.
Speaking of funny things, I said, "Who's the best quarterback that ever lived?" And he said, "Tom Brady." And I said, "You're not giving any credence to Manning, Rodgers, Montana, Breeze." I threw Kurt Warner because I always love throwing Kurt Warner because, guys, if you want a nice homework assignment, look at Kurt Warner's stats in the playoffs. It's phenomenal. It's a fun read. But he's like, no, Tom Brady's got the most rings. He's the best quarterback. I said, okay. And he's a Ravens fan. I said, who's a better quarterback, Joe Flacco or Lamar Jackson? And he said, Lamar. And I said, well, why? He goes, he's phenomenal. Look at him. And he's going to, beat all of Flacco's stats and this and that. He's just a better quarterback. And I said, does he have any rings? He didn't have a response for me.
Well, no,
so
but he's got two MVPs. He's got two MVPs.
Oh, phenomenal. Shine those up and put them in a corner somewhere. Because honestly, that's what Steve Young said. He goes, listen, if I would have lost the game to the Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl for the third straight year, you could take all of your little accomplishments in the NFL and then just put them away somewhere. He goes, but if you win a Super Bowl, those little accomplishments become a Hall of Fame resume. He said, until you win one, you're not considered really anything. And I disagree with that part of it. But the point is, he won 2 MVPs. That. But I think Lamar's a better quarterback than Flacco. But his argument was titles. Mm-hmm. I said he argued for Brady because of titles. And I'm like, I'm not doing this with you. I'm not going to do this with you. I'm not. So it's that's a discussion for another day.
It goes back. Garn says it. In order to get a ring, you need to win games. Games are not a QB stat. Therefore, that's true. That is true. You telling me the steel curtain had nothing to do with Terry winning those bad boys? Come on now. Antoine Smith's got 2 Super Bowl rings, guys. Just think about that for a minute.
So does Rob Johnson.
Rob Johnson?
Rob Johnson was on the 2002 Buccaneers, or the 2000 Buccaneers, or 2002. Sorry, 2002.
Okay,
he's got one. No, he's got one. He's got one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because doesn't he? I was gonna say, do they give? Are we counting Grey Cup championships? Because I don't think we count those.
Warren Moon and Doug Flutie would like to have a discussion.
Right. Yeah. Shady Garn brings it up. Shady got his with the Chiefs and the Bucks, and I don't even think he was active for the Chiefs game. If memory serves me
I love when
correct.
he brings those up and people announce him as 2-time Super Bowl champion.
2-time Super. I don't even know if he was active for the Chiefs game.
No, he wasn't. One of them he wasn't active. One of them definitely was. Yogi Berra is the best baseball player of all time. 10 rings. Well, Yogi's the best bad ball hitter ever. The guy struck out like 12 times in a season. He had like 500 plate appearances.
I don't even want to go into this. We can't go into Mario. We can't talk about this. That
Here we
era
go.
of baseball, guys were still working at the convenience stores, in the off season. Like they were baling hay in the off season, like because they had to work real jobs. Like we're talking Farmer Joe on the mound, in 60% of the league. So we can't talk about
Yeah.
this. Okay.
And
Like
none of them, none of
talk
them
about
tore
this.
their ACLs because they didn't have them.
yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. There's no UCL back then.
Sammy Watkins does too. Oh, he does.
Yeah. Yeah. Watkins has a ring.
Oh my God.
Yep.
We
Yep,
we trailed viciously off course here.
Yeah.
It's because that game was so freaking boring today. All it was.
It was. Yeah, it was. Like Joe Flacco, I think what was it for like 13 consecutive plays, didn't complete a pass over like 8 yards. Like it was, oh my gosh. Like it was so tough to watch. Like, I mean, good for Alec Pierce to get one on 5'6" Codrington in the corner. It was a nice catch. Like, I don't want to take anything away from Alec Pierce. It was
You
a nice
could
catch,
make a catch though,
the end zone.
over Codrington. I think you.
Yeah.
Look at John Paul. Relax. We're not talking about baseball all the time. It's okay. That is. By the way, that's banging. Is that the cherry one? The cherry Canadian dry.
Yeah, it's cranberry. Yeah, Canada cranberry.
That's so good. That's I swear to God, why you don't have a sponsorship for some like no name drink at this point? It's beyond me.
Listen, Mario, I don't have I think sponsorships are about reputation, and my background is currently my wall and a Bob Ross action figure. So this is and a Minions light switch. Like I got to dress the joint up a little bit before we could start talking about pop sponsorships here. Okay.
Type of one in the chat if you think he should always leave that Bob Ross thing on the wall.
Yeah, right. It's killer, dude. Yeah, he's got a big old paintbrush. Oh no, Bob! All right, buddy.
We have derailed.
Yeah, a big old paintbrush there. Sure, it's got titanium white on it because that's what he loved to use. Big titanium white guy.
Let's put some little trees.
Do you know that my stepdad owns a Bob Ross painting? Have I ever told you this?
No.
Yeah,
no,
so my
haven't.
stepdad has a Bob Ross. Yeah, we own a Bob Ross painting. So, yeah, weird story. Really weird story.
How does one acquire one of those at this point?
He called me one day, like in a panic, and he's like, "Do you have $10?" This was years ago.
What?
You asked. So here we are, Mar. Do you have $10 on you? Yeah. He goes, are you doing anything in the next 30 minutes? I said, no. He goes, I need you to go to this antique store on Main Street in Tonawanda. They have a Bob Ross painting upstairs mixed in with other paintings. I'll tell you what pile it's in. It's in the attic. You need to go right now. Okay. So I went and I walked up to the attic of this antique store on Main Street in the city of Tonawanda, and there, clear as day, is a Bob Ross painting. And I bought it for $10, and we now own a Bob Ross painting. So that's how that went.
That is phenomenal.
Yep.
That is. Well, you better hold on to that bad boy because it's worth something now.
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently, right? Apparently it is. It's all right.
All right, let's try to talk a little bit more about football while we're here, just for a little bit. Sorry for the detour, guys. Hopefully you like the discussion. Nobody left, so hopefully you guys did. So, Paul, we're talking about different kind of scenarios for the Chiefs game because obviously this Colts game's in the bag. It's done. It's over with.
Well, and again, like if there was something to talk about that's going to make an impact on the Colts game, like I think we'd be able to talk about it. Say, hey, Buffalo did this. This isn't going to work against the Chiefs. I don't think they showed you anything that they planned on doing against the Chiefs, right? Like we talked about there being wasted game plans. This is one of them. Right, you hold out Keon, you hold out Cooper. You don't really run Ray Davis that much. You threw the ball to Curtis Samuel. I think that tells you where your offensive game plan was for today. Well, maybe that was the telling point. Maybe they said, "Listen, we could get Samuel involved as well to give you guys another piece that in routes that I haven't seen the other two run yet." Mm-hmm.
So It's interesting. it's interesting to me. Plus, the one thing that Spagnuolo loves to do on third down is bring the house. That worries me because Indy brought the house today on third down, and Bills had no answer for it. Allen put it in the fifth row. Obviously, they were in the red zone. They were going to get a field goal anyway. But the point is, the Chiefs want to hold you to field goals if possible.
Right.
So, you know, he did throw to Samuel a little too much. But honestly, you know, Paul Berg saying, you know, he threw to Samuel a little too much. What else was in the cabinet, man?
Yeah.
What else is in the cabinet today to do anything with?
Right.
Mac Hollins was your biggest third down threat.
Yeah.
After Kincaid went out.
Right. And like you had players like Tyrell Shavers active today, you know, like this is what happens.
Yeah.
It's what happens. And Josh looked like he was uncomfortable today. I will say though, we've talked about the health of Josh's left hand, and that stiff arm tells me Josh's hand is probably okay.
Can we talk about him actually getting punched on a fourth down play, trying to run for the first down?
What the hell?
The league literally has to do something.
Mario, isn't that guy punished enough? He was punching a helmet. Like, hasn't he been punished enough?
I thought you were going to say.
Isn't that one of the things they tell you, that if you get into a fight on the football field, don't punch his helmet? Like, isn't that one of like the things that they teach you?
No, they don't tell you. That's just common sense. But I thought you were going to say he was punching him because he's wearing a Colts jersey. The guy's already got enough problem. No, I was messing around. The Colts will have at least 2 more wins this year. Not just 2. I'm saying they'll have 2 more wins this year of games where people will give them no chance to win, because they're just I like that defense. I really like that defense. I mean, and you just, as Paul said earlier, you just didn't have the Colts didn't have enough firepower today. I mean, if you started Richardson, he gives you that little bit of an X factor. If Pittman was there, it gives you another weapon. Yeah. Jonathan Taylor did everything from his position that you needed him to do. The Bills' game plan in the second half was to take 28 out of the game. They did. They had to rely on Flacco, second and third and longs. He couldn't do it. And that's just the way the game rolled out. That's just the way the game rolled out. So
without Pittman, do you think that was another reason why they started Flacco? Right? Because you look at it and say, okay, well, without Pittman, you're just hoping that Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson can out-athlete the Bills today. I don't think that's going to happen, right? Is that a reason to start Flacco over Richardson? Because Flacco will at least work his way down the field as best as a quarterback can do it.
Progressions, you mean?
Right. Whereas Richardson is he's gonna look for what he thinks might be there and then just try and figure it out afterwards. And Buffalo's not, they can hang with those QBs that need to move around a lot. And I mean, I would have preferred to see Richardson today, right?
I think the league did. I think the league wanted to see Richardson because the people have compared Richardson to Allen, a young Allen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I get that, but isn't Allen like the comparison like across the board? Because you can't call people Mahomes, right? That's too high in adulation to say, well, he's the next Mahomes. You can't do that.
No, just because he's a 6'5", 250-pound freak that can throw the ball 80 yards.
Right.
That's why they compare him. I mean, I think a lot of people, for new quarterbacks that come into the league, they will compare to Josh Allen's stats his first 2 or 3 years. As he was developing and learning the position, and they think that, compare his stats to Allen's stats, how they were his first 3 years. He's still, you got to realize something, guys, and this is what they never put in there, the disclaimer. Daboll was working with him step by step to try to turn him into a quarterback, and the final piece was getting Stephon Diggs to get him to see the field the way Diggs does. That's really where it started to click for Josh Allen. And then when he started to learn, he's in season 7, guys. If he didn't learn it by now, whoops, it would have been a big miss for the Bills. But Paul, do you think Allen's success masked the fact that the Bills,
kids,
do you think that Josh Allen's success masked the fact that the Buffalo Bills gave Mahomes to the Chiefs and gave Jefferson to Minnesota?
I mean, Buffalo's been sort of the gatekeeper to some top level talent. Buffalo's been the gatekeeper there. But again, you look at what would the organization at the time have done with those talents if you get them, right? So
Exactly.
I think those players that are successful oftentimes are not successful to spite their coaching staff, right? It's the right environment. It's the right time. It's the right coaching staff. It's the right players around them. So players that are successful, they're successful because they fit within how the I don't want to say how the organization was planning to use them, but they fit within the structure and develop into top level athletes, not to spite the system, but because of where they were. It just worked for them, right? So if Mahomes comes to Buffalo, I think there's a lot of people that say, I don't know. Like, I'm happy with Josh Allen. Like, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain. And I think as we see the weapons slowly peel away from Kansas City, the fact of the matter is you still have Reed, who's one of the best offensive coaches in the history of the game. Yep. And he's always been that way. And that's why they can go through offensive coordinators. That's why they can go through changing in staff. And it's something that Buffalo struggles to do because that organization, Reed knows exactly what he needs to be successful because he calls the offensive plays. He knows precisely what he needs and he can communicate that. Buffalo has had this musical chairs of offensive coordinators and the personnel packages wildly shift year to year because of that. So I think for Buffalo, it's a little harder to maintain success because Reed owns scoring points. Like, that's why they've been able to win, is because they're scoring enough points to be really competitive, right? Yeah. That's what they're doing. Whereas with Buffalo, when you give up 100+ yards on the ground in the first half, you're looking at your head coach like, well, what are you going to do about this, Sean? Like what the hell's happening, Sean? This team is not good, and you're only up a touchdown. Like, you should have put this team away. You had Sean. You had two forced turnovers in the first half. Why are they still hanging around? I think for a defensive coach versus an offensive coach, it's ultimately a different type of conversation.
Always. It's always going to be one because the blueprint in the East for 20 years was you got a defensive mastermind and a quarterback that literally has a 7-yard passing tree. And you would have games where he'd throw for 40. He'd throw 40 times. And then there's games where he rushed 45 times. Okay. It was always predicated on what Bill wanted to do with the defense, and the offense had to complement him.
Right. Yeah.
You look at it. I mean, you want to talk about the situations that both Mahomes and Allen came into. That's why I was having a discussion with my brother a little bit earlier. This could be a freaking full episode if you want to talk about it. You look at all these guys that get drafted in the top 10. How many guys have success? You're going to dog water teams, guys.
Yeah.
And unless you're a special talent, you're not going to be successful at that team. Mahomes went 10th, but they traded up from 27 because they were 12-4 that year. And the guy got to sit an entire year behind, quite arguably, the smartest quarterback that's ever played the position, Alex Smith. Why do I say Alex Smith is one of the smartest players to play the position? Because the guy had 5 offensive coordinators in 7 years when he started his career. You're telling me he didn't have to learn and learn on the fly and do this and that?
How different is Allen? How different is Allen at this point?
No,
really. Yeah.
What I'm saying is that Allen came into a situation where it wasn't a winning culture. He came into a very defensive-minded head coach who wants to run the ball all the time, who came into, he had an offensive coordinator who didn't have success in the NFL as an OC. He didn't.
No.
But now you were granted this unicorn, and you got to teach him how to play the quarterback position at the NFL level, which he did. And now he's phenomenal. But that didn't start like they were a 9-7 team. Like, they made the playoffs. They broke the drought with Tyrod, but they were not a winning team.
Well, and Allen wasn't supposed to play, right? Yeah. Like, that was the idea, was Allen wasn't supposed to start. But go back and look at what he had as a weapon back
Robert
then.
Foster. Calvin Benjamin, Charles Clay,
Charles
Zay
Clay.
Jones.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the list? I already memorized
I'm
it.
pulling it up
Paul.
right now. Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. So yeah, Zay Jones, Chris Ivory. I totally forgot he was a Bill. I completely forgot about Chris Ivory. Yeah, Calvin Benjamin, Jason Kroom, Isaiah McKenzie, perennially a Bill. Yeah, boy, tough time. Patrick DeMarco. Bruh. Yeah,
Patrick DeMarco.
Patrick DeMarco. Rough sledding, man.
What's in the cabinet, guys? Jesus. But I mean, no. But these are two very vastly different paths you have to get here, and
yeah,
the reason why there's so much back and forth as far as the Chiefs and the Bills go. Obviously, it's the Buffalo Bills playoff losses to the Chiefs and the Bills winning a few games in the regular season. It's Allen versus Mahomes. He's got 3 titles. The Bills have nothing, and Bills have been a starved franchise for so many years. And you start talking about this, that, and the other thing. Allen is like the working man's quarterback. He worked his way up to become the player that he is. Mahomes got a seat at the front table, got to sit there for an entire year behind one of the greatest offensive minds in the game. And he got to show you how phenomenal Andy Reid's offense can look with a guy that's that talented.
Yeah.
Okay, that's phenomenal. That's great. Paul, you and I had a conversation 7 years ago in my freaking Kia after Mahomes threw 50 touchdowns. And we said, it's only downhill from here.
Yeah.
Has he thrown for 50 since?
Nope.
Exactly. The trajectory of these two guys. And you know what? If you're ladies and gentlemen of Hashtag Nation, if you're of the mindset that the Buffalo Bills should have taken Mahomes with the 10th overall pick, Paul just read the names of who he'd be throwing to. Okay. Yeah. There was no Andy Reid. There's no Tyreek Hill. There's no Travis Kelce. There's none of that stuff is going to be in Buffalo waiting for Mahomes.
You got Rick Dennison.
Oh my God.
Rick Dennison.
I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
That sounds like an adult film star's name, doesn't it? Like just generic enough to be an adult film star.
Is it Family the Rick or the hard D at the end?
We were a family friendly show for a minute. Yeah.
You're the one that brought it up, sir.
Listen, I can't be the only person in this chat who had that thought ever. I think it was years ago now.
There's 70 people in here. I think you're the only one that was thinking that. I was gonna go. No, I mean it's anyway, because we're talking about the Chiefs. It's Chiefs week, guys. Like the Colts are done.
It's officially Chiefs week.
Yeah, it's officially Chiefs week. The Buffalo Bills are 8-2, 6-2 in the conference. They're undefeated in their own division.
Yep.
If you would have asked anybody in the 716 area code and beyond, because the Bills travel well, after 10 games, they're going to be 8-2. I think a lot of people would be very, very happy with that scenario, but then they would say, who did we lose to? Because we talked about this last week, Paul. The goalposts have moved for this team.
Yeah.
Winning the division used to be fun.
Yeah. You're going to have it's very possible the Bills could have the division 1 coming out of their bye week. And that's sick. Like
I know. And I'm saying this, Paul, it literally just so there's no confusion for everybody in Hashtag Nation land and all this other stuff. Until 17 stops wearing a Bills uniform every Sunday, I'm going to say that they should win the Super Bowl every year because they got Josh Allen. Like I'm literally going to say they should. They have the talent enough at the quarterback position, which is the most important one, to win the Super Bowl. Now, will the other parts help them out? Well, if you talk to Ryan, it's Sean McDermott has to go. If you talk to some of the other guys, these pieces have to go. These pieces have to be added. But as long as 17 is a quarterback for the Bills, I believe that they have a Super Bowl chance every year. So
I think Joe's in the chat, and I think Joe's been talked in by Ryan into the this Sean McDermott thing. He's the second most, what is it? The third most winningest active coach. Like it's some weird stat.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Well,
What is
7 years
it?
is a long time for a guy to stay with a team, or 8 years.
Nowadays,
Yeah, nowadays
it is,
it's
sure.
crazy.
Yeah, nowadays. But I mean, you obviously have Reed and Tomlin, and they've been there. They've been in
Oh
their
God,
respective
yeah.
spots since forever, right? And you look
All
around the rest
AFC
of the
guys.
league. Yeah, well, right. And you look around the rest of the league, and it's new faces. I mean, Shanahan is now seen as a well-tenured head coach, and that doesn't feel like it's been that long. It's. But then you look back, and you're like, I remember when he traded for Jimmy Garoppolo. And Jimmy Garoppolo, that was like 3 teams ago.
Speaking of adult film stars, he dated one, Paul. That's what I meant. Never mind. I don't care anymore.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh. It's not an industry I keep up on, Mario. Thanks for the tidbit, though.
It was on Pro Football Talk. It's not my fault.
So Joe says in the chat, if I could trade Sean McDermott for Reed, I'd do it. Raise your hand, right? Like,
nope.
Sign me up. You wouldn't trade Sean McDermott for Andy Reid.
I would only do it just to see the tire fire of him arguing with Spagnuolo every Sunday. Give me the play calling duties. No. It's my defense. Go kick rocks, brother. It's my defense. No, but it's like
it's 3rd and 4. Zone! Play zone!
8 yards off.
I know, Sean, we're on the 6-yard line. Zone!
He has lost his marbles.
I just once, I would love to watch a cornerback for the Bills just punch a receiver in the mouth at the line. Just once.
Pressman. I think Curry Elam tried that, and he's like 7th string corner. I think he may have tried that one time. No, it's okay. So, Paul, we're going to be close to wrapping this up. Hashtag Nation. Be on the lookout for a Bills Chiefs hype video Tuesday morning. That'll be once this week is officially completed. Obviously, there's a Monday night game. Oh God.
Oh, that's a tough one to swallow right there. McDermott is the longest active coach with their original team to not win a Super Bowl.
I'm literally not going to sleep tonight. Thanks, TV and sleep.
Yeah. Yuck. Marvin Lewis, man. Yikes.
Marvin Lewis is really his closest comparison.
Yeah, sure is, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. I don't want to talk about this. Do you? I don't want to talk about this.
No.
Okay,
no.
We should move on.
Yeah, we should. So I'm gonna put up. Obviously, you guys know if you've been here before, all of you in the chat. When the Bills win, we roast. You got 3 minutes on the clock to roast us. Roast whatever you want. Roast the Bills. Roast the Andy Reid's mustache. Whatever you want to do. I'm going to put the timer up, and then you guys can have some fun.
I think I need to change my light switch. It's a Minions light switch. I feel like I need to rebrand that, Mar.
Would you like to go on a date?
Well, that was awful.
That was Gru.
That was not good. Do your kids tell you that you do a good Gru impression?
No.
Okay.
Your kids do.
Sure. Oh,
I started the roast.
Yeah. Woo. Yikes.
It's spicy. Why is it spicy? You are both knowledgeable and funny fellows. Okay. All right. We're getting patronized already. I love the light switch. I think you should keep it. I'll give you a hashtag sticker for it.
I got a hashtag sticker and a new light switch. So I was thinking about doing. I just didn't have time to do it before the post game. I just thought of it.
Mario put that hat on to take away the biggest roast target. Yep.
There it is, everybody. There it is.
The dome. Do we have predictions for next week's game? Ooh, we could do that after the roast. We could do that. I like that.
Paul looks like he's doing the pod remotely from a strip club. Is it the light? This is just a bland gray wall. So like there's nothing. I had to do something. So I got this light over here.
Yeah, guys, you got the wrong idea about Paul. He only goes there for the food.
Yeah, the buffets, right?
I keep thinking the Minion light switch is a wrap present taped to the wall. Honestly. Oh my God, that is phenomenal. Aaron Clark, you are right. Joe's getting in on the action now. Mario, nice hair. How'd you get to come out of your nose like that?
You're turning more and more into Sauron, like each episode.
I don't even know what you talk about half of the time. I swear to God.
Lord of the Rings? You don't really have any reference to Lord of the Rings.
I've never seen it.
Mario.
No,
Mario.
I haven't. It's not my fault.
It's a good way to spend your time. It's very enjoyable, right? The first two, very enjoyable. Highly recommend.
I just noticed that you two have the same nose. That's weird. We were separated at birth, 3 years apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll just go to Five Below and buy some lights.
Yeah. Hey, that's it. I think that's what I got to do.
Paul's sensitive about his background.
I am. I feel like very, it's weird, like I've relocated the camera in the office space, and yeah, I'm a little insecure about it. I'm not afraid to admit that.
Oh my God, really, Davis? Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Like a member of the Manson family?
Yeah, that's going deep.
Yes, I can. It's true.
Mario is completely unruly at a Disturbed concert. Completely unruly.
Not as unruly as you for being there. Be like, do I really have to listen to this moped sing for 3 hours?
That's funny.
Guys, you're never going to listen to Disturbed the same way. Seriously, sounds like a moped. Not even kidding.
Joe's not even here. Poor Joe's getting some heat. Joe always looks like he's been sitting on his hat all day before he puts it on.
It is true. I mean, I always tell him to bend the brim. He could serve food on that tray.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Bent brims are not a crime, everybody. They're not a crime.
Bent brims are not a crime, no. So, ladies and gentlemen of Hashtag Nation, before we bow out for the evening, throw your scores in the chat. Paul, we don't usually do these though, but do you have a score prediction for the Chiefs game for next week? I know it's very, very early.
Ooh.
You're right, Spin. 100%.
Let's think. I do think Buffalo's going to win. I just don't think they're going to beat the piss out of them.
Like we want.
Yeah, no, I really want to see them just rub it. Because here's why, right? I want the Monday sports reporting to be the, can you believe what the Bills did to the Chiefs? Right? Like, that's what I want. I want there to be a swirly level assault on this team, like head in the toilet, like a swirly level assault on the Kansas City Chiefs. That's what I want. So I'm going to go with my heart, and I'm going to say 42-17. I think that is swirly level assault on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow. That's insane.
I don't think that's in any way what's going to happen. I'm just telling you what I want to see. So
what you want? So you're telling me what you want for Christmas and what you're actually going to get?
Yeah. Yeah. Apparently LED lights from Five Below. So that's apparently what I'm getting for Christmas.
Hey, when we go in the car, I'll take you there, and we'll actually film you buying them, so everyone else can see it.
That's awesome.
Big win. We equal stress-free bye week. Yes, fingers crossed. I like to see 41-13 Bills over the Chiefs. Garno Freck. TV and Sleep says Bills 27-24, and Miguel says Bills win by 14. I am going to go on the other side of this. I think that it would be a mutiny. because here's the way I see it, guys. And stay with me on this. The Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs in 2024, in the 2024 season, are going to split. This is not the first time that these two teams are going to play. It is next Sunday. And not the one and only time that they're going to play is next Sunday. I believe they're going to meet in the playoffs, and I think that they're going to have a split. What I think is going to happen is there's going to be a controversial call to give the Chiefs the win as they go to 10-0.
Oh, God.
And going into the playoffs, the Bills will have the biggest chip on their shoulder, and then Paul's prophecy will come true, where the Buffalo Bills, in Paul's words, curb stomp the Chiefs in the playoffs and end their historic run. You got to remember, they flashed a stat today, and you know how much of a historian I am, Paul, so I thought it was very, very interesting. The 1990 to 1994 San Francisco 49ers in their first 5 years, they're a great mobile quarterback. They had a lot of wins. They lost to the Dallas Cowboys twice, just twice. In the third year, when the Dallas Cowboys were trying to three-peat, the 49ers beat them going to the Super Bowl. Does history repeat itself in the NFL, where it's an AFC Championship game with the Bills and the Chiefs, and they're trying to make history, and the Bills beat them to go to the Super Bowl, and then they end up losing to Detroit? You know what I mean? It'd be like it would be something.
Detroit's really good, man.
They are.
Like, I don't want to play either of those teams. I don't want to play either of them.
No. But I think they're going to split, because this is not the only time the Bills are going to play the Chiefs this year. I think they're going to meet them in the playoffs, and I would, as many of you, would rather them beat them in the playoffs and lose this game.
Yeah. I mean, and if you look at the rest of the Bills' schedule, right, how many playoff teams are really on it? I mean, you got the Patriots twice.
You got the Jets.
You got the Jets. The Lions are obviously, I mean, the Lions are going to be a tough draw in the playoffs.
You know,
right? Whoever draws.
A
tough draw.
Dude, having the Patriots is not a good way to prepare for the playoffs.
No. But it does give you time to rest, because again, the division will already, I don't want to say already, I don't want to sound like a pompous ass, right? But it is in all likelihood, the division
mathematically, yes.
The division will be in hand at that point. So maybe you see Mitchy Biscuits, right? Like, imagine what that would be like for, like players play a half, and then you get what you get the second half. Like, right?
In the last game you're talking about, or the three of those games, because I mean,
if it's not really going to impact your seeding, right? Like, if you're looking at it and you're looking up at the scoreboard and it's the Chiefs again, and they got two games on you still. Like, I mean, come on.
I think if you beat the Chiefs next Sunday, those three games at the end of the year, you have to play them all with your starters.
100% agree with you. 100% agree. Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. Yeah. But looking at the Bills, right? They got the Chiefs. The 49ers are just dragging ass, right? They're now five. They now have a winning record. But
they were putting a whooping on Tampa Bay before they ended up winning that game. They went to overtime, didn't it? Who won that game?
Today?
San Francisco win that, or Tampa? I can't.
I'm
looking for it. I can't find it.
Come on, ESPN. Oh, I just passed it.
How dare you?
Here it is. San Francisco won 23-20.
Yeah, they were beating them up pretty bad. Purdy threw for 350 in that game. That's crazy.
I mean, the Rams might not make the playoffs. They're 4-4, so they're kind of on the outside. So, I mean, if you're looking at playoff teams, right, you've got the Chiefs, the 49ers, probably, the Lions, definitely. And then that's what you got, right? Like, those are your three playoff teams. So I think you're just like, okay, well, those are the games you have to win, right? That's what you're thinking. But at the same token, right, if the division's already in hand at some point, it's just playoff seeding. So
it really is.
It's out of your hands anyway.
Yeah, you
want to play in Buffalo. That's what you want to do. You want to play in Buffalo, but outside of playing in Buffalo, if you're the Bills, you don't care who shows up.
Yeah, you don't. Plus, you don't care. You've already played in Arrowhead so many times. You don't care.
Right?
What do you care for? Like you played there and won there before, so you know what it's like. It's not like you're getting dog walked every time you go into Arrowhead. So
Yeah. Sean, Mr. Rogers Holmes brings up a great point. He's like, maybe Casey and the Ravens will play each other in the playoffs and then, just make the decision for you, right? Like that's ideal.
That's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough one though, because you need them to be the Bills have to be the second seed, and then the Ravens will have to be the third seed for that to work out.
Right.
No, wait, I'm sorry. No, second and fourth. Second and fourth.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, they have to be on different sides of that.
Yeah.
So either 1 and 3 or 2 and 4. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the post-game presentation by Hashtag Sports of the Buffalo Bills versus Indianapolis Colts, which turned into a Kansas City preview for Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers Homes, our sponsor, and for all of our socials, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All of our episodes will be on iTunes and Spotify. And for Paul and myself, we are out of here. We're going to go watch Detroit beat the crap out of Houston. And so we're out of here.
I thought Houston was going to be so much better, man.
Hey, he lost Nico Collins. Weird when you lose your number one wideout.
Oh, yeah, twice.
Wah, wah, wah.
Hello, fellow Bills fans. Sean Rogers, realtor and lead of the Mr. Rogers Homes team. Did you know that real estate is one of the best ways to build wealth, and right now is one of the best times to own an investment property in Arizona? Please reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions so we can take the next step to your financial freedom here in the Valley of the Sun, utilizing real estate. As always, God bless America and go Buffalo!